Imagine a world where diplomacy wasn't about equal treaties or mutual recognition. A world where every foreign relationship followed a strict ritual of submission and benevolence. This was the reality of East Asia for over 2,000 years under China's tribute system. The tribute system wasn't just political theater, it was a comprehensive worldview. It reflected how ancient China saw itself, as the Middle Kingdom, the center of civilization surrounded by barbarians who needed to be civilized. This system had deep philosophical roots in Confucianism. The ideal ruler was supposed to be benevolent and virtuous, attracting others through moral example rather than military force. Tribute was how foreign rulers acknowledged this moral superiority. The earliest records of tribute come from the Zhou dynasty around 1000 BCE, but it was during the Han dynasty, starting in 206 BCE, that the system became formalized and institutionalized. So what exactly happened during a tribute mission? Foreign envoys would travel to the Chinese capital bearing gifts from their ruler. These weren't random presents, they followed strict protocols about what was appropriate. The gifts typically included local specialties: Korean ginseng, Vietnamese ivory, Central Asian horses, Japanese swords. But the most important gift was symbolic, a memorial acknowledging the Chinese emperor's superiority. Upon arrival, envoys underwent elaborate rituals. They practiced the kowtow, 3 kneelings and 9 prostrations, before being granted an audience with the emperor. Every movement was choreographed. The emperor would then bestow gifts in return, often far more valuable than what he received. This wasn't an economic exchange, it was a demonstration of China's generosity and wealth. But here's the crucial point. China also granted trading privileges. Envoys and their merchants could trade in designated border markets. This made tribute missions economically valuable for participating states. Korea provides the perfect case study. For centuries, Korean kingdoms sent regular tribute missions to China. They adopted Chinese writing, Confucianism, and bureaucratic systems, becoming what scholars call a Little China. Vietnam had a more complex relationship. While adopting Chinese culture and institutions, Vietnamese rulers also fiercely defended their independence. Their tribute missions were strategic, maintaining access to Chinese goods and protection. Japan presents perhaps the most interesting case. Early Japanese rulers eagerly participated in the tribute system, but by the 9th century, they stopped sending missions. Japan developed its own imperial system, though still influenced by Chinese models. The nomadic peoples of the steppe, Mongols, Turks, Xiongnu, had a different dynamic. They were often military threats, and tributes sometimes flowed in the opposite direction, with China paying them to maintain peace. During the Ming Dynasty, Admiral Zheng He's famous voyages took the tribute system to new heights. His massive fleets visited Southeast Asia, India, Arabia, and Africa, inviting rulers to send tribute to the Ming court. Zheng He didn't conquer or colonize, he distributed gifts and invited participation in the tribute system. This was China's vision of world order, a voluntary network centered on Chinese civilization. But the system had its critics within China. Some officials argued it was wasteful. Why give away valuable goods for symbolic submission? Others saw it as essential for maintaining China's security and prestige. The economic reality was complex. While tribute missions were costly, they facilitated trade that benefited Chinese merchants. Silk, porcelain, and tea flowed out in exchange for silver, spices, and exotic goods. The system reached its peak during the Qing dynasty in the 18th century. Emperor Qianlong hosted magnificent tribute receptions, with envoys from Korea, Vietnam, Burma, Nepal, and Central Asian Khanates. Then came the British. In 1793, Lord Macartney arrived in China with a British trade mission. He brought gifts from King George III, but refused to perform the kowtow, offering only a knee bend instead. The British wanted diplomatic equality and expanded trade. Emperor Qianlong famously replied, "We have never valued ingenious articles, nor do we have the slightest need of your country's manufactures." This was more than a diplomatic incident, it was a collision of worldviews. Britain saw international relations as between equal sovereign states. China saw Britain as just another barbarian kingdom that should join the tribute system. The Opium Wars of the 1840s shattered the tribute system's foundations. British gunboats proved superior to Chinese forces. The resulting treaties forced China to accept diplomatic equality and open more ports to trade. One by one, tribute relationships ended or transformed. Vietnam became a French colony. Korea was annexed by Japan. The system that had lasted 2 millennia was collapsing under Western imperialism. But did the tribute mentality disappear? Some scholars argue it evolved. Even in the 20th century, China sometimes expected special deference from neighboring communist states, reflecting old hierarchical patterns. Today, China's Belt and Road Initiative invites comparison. Like the tribute system, it offers economic benefits in exchange for political alignment. But it's based on modern international law, not Confucian hierarchy. The tribute system's legacy is complex. For China's neighbors, it brought both cultural enrichment and political subordination. For China, it maintained security and prestige at great economic cost. At its heart, the system reflected a particular view of civilization. China wasn't just a country, it was civilization itself. Others could participate by adopting Chinese ways and acknowledging Chinese superiority. This worldview created remarkable stability. For centuries, East Asia avoided the constant warfare between equal states that characterized Europe, but it also prevented the development of international law between sovereign equals. The tribute system's rituals may seem strange today, but they made perfect sense in their context. They created a shared language of diplomacy across diverse cultures, from Korean scholars to Central Asian nomads. Modern historians debate whether to call it tribute at all. Some prefer foreign relations system or diplomatic ritual system. The term tribute comes from Chinese sources that naturally emphasized China's centrality. What can we learn from this system today? It reminds us that international relations aren't natural or universal, they're cultural constructs. Every civilization develops its own way of understanding the world and its place in it. The tribute system also shows the power of ritual. In our modern, transactional world, we might underestimate how important ceremonies and symbols were in maintaining relationships between states. Finally, it reveals a different approach to power. The ideal wasn't domination through force, but attraction through virtue and culture. Whether this was reality or rhetoric is debated, but it was a powerful ideal. As we look at today's global tensions between rising and established powers, the tribute system offers historical perspective. How do civilizations with different worldviews find ways to coexist? The tribute system wasn't perfect. It was hierarchical, expensive, and ultimately unable to adapt to new global realities. But for 2,000 years, it created a stable order in East Asia that allowed remarkable cultural flourishing. Next time you see a map, remember, every civilization sees itself at the center. For ancient China, that wasn't just geography, it was a moral and philosophical certainty that shaped how they engaged with the entire world.